Hello and welcome to We Wealth Women Live. I am Athena Gardner. I am a CPA and founder of We Wealth Women, where we help women to confidently manage their finances and to live their best goddess lives. In today's show, we're going to be discussing the financial hunger games. Okay? The financial hunger games. How to thrive in this economy and beyond, okay? So if you're new here, please feel free to hit that like and subscribe button because I don't want you to miss a thing. Now, before we get into today's topic, our beverage of the day is actually Gatorade because your girl is a little dehydrated. So this is what's in the chalice for today. And for our robe of the day is one of my lovely Fee Noel robes, of course. But basically, this series is going to be me going over the topics that you need to know that's happening in your world, in your life, how to navigate the best way possible. So let's get into it. Financial hunger games, all right? Now, unless you've been living on a rock, and I'm not even just talking about the wilderness of North America. I'm just talking about life in general. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. You're probably feeling it somehow, unless you're uber wealthy. And with everything going on as far as the economy, politics, day-to-day life, trying to make that work, I figured I needed to do this live and to give you guys the information you need to survive what I'm calling the financial hunger games. So stay tuned. Feel free to drop questions in the chat. And if you're watching the replay, as like I said, thumbs up the video. Now, the first topic I want us to discuss is going to be inflation, right? Inflation has been kicking our behinds in this new world, this new paradigm, and everything that's going on right now. So how do we necessarily combat inflation? The only way you can combat inflation, to be honest with you, is to control how much money you're spending on goods and services, first of all, right? Because basically, if you're not buying goods and services, you're not really going to be affected by inflation. But also to put your investments in accounts or inflation investment accounts that hedge inflation. So for example, if you put your money, say inflation is 3.5%, if you put your money in a high yield savings account, that's 4.65%, you're protecting your money from the cost of inflation. There are other investments, depending on the risk tolerance you're willing to take, that will actually give you a greater return than that 3.5%. As of lately, I think the current inflation is around 3.5%, which is lower than the peak levels during the pandemic. So at least it's doing better than that. But it's definitely affecting low to middle class people for sure. Because why? If you are a business owner, if you have your investments, if you own assets like real estate, when inflation comes about, what usually happens, you just raise your price, right? You just raise your price. And if you have a good product or service that is price resistant, meaning that people are going to need it regardless, inflation is not going to affect you so much. Inflation usually affects price sensitive goods and services. So that's another important thing to keep in mind. Now, the next thing we want to discuss is employment and wage growth. Now, surprisingly, employment levels are kind of even, right? So people actually, the employment rate is not that high. The unemployment rate, around 3.8% of people have, the unemployment rate is hovering around 3.85%. So people who are looking for jobs are finding them. The issue is that the jobs are not paying enough, okay? Yesterday's price is not today's price when it comes to these jobs, honey. So what you're going to find, especially if you are not in a career or a technical career or field that is needed or high earning, you're going to feel the pinch of that inflation that I discussed earlier. You're going to feel that more because while the prices of goods and services are going up, unfortunately, the price of wages, right, have not been. And on top of that, a lot of employers and a lot of people are actually finding themselves in a conundrum because while other states like California are raising like minimum wage, they're also trying to replace you. They're also trying to invest in technology like AI and other tech to not need as much people. The future is definitely coming, and a lot of businesses are future proofing themselves and making huge investments in these new technologies so that they don't need human beings, right? Or need less people. While they will need people to work on the machines, fix the machines, code the machines, a lot of jobs that are necessarily being done by humans previously won't be needed anymore. For example, I remember I saw something about Amazon laying a bunch of warehouse workers, right? And that will continue to happen because Amazon, especially, is one of the companies that are, really making a lot of investments into their warehouse, into the technology, into AI, actually. So I would expect that to continue. So, what does that necessarily mean for the everyday person, for the average person? What it means is that if you are in a cushy position or a job that doesn't require too much, chances are there's going to be a technology that will replace you. So, people who have been kind of on, you know, coasting or doing jobs that don't require high level skill are going to feel it the most, right? AI is predicted to add about 12% to the job market. I think that number is inaccurate. I think that AI is going to take away more jobs. But what it is, take away more jobs than it gives, but only the future knows, right? But what will definitely happen is a reshifting of work, a reshifting on you really have to be in a job that is very high skill, critical thinking skills, jobs that will supplement or really service AI in the future if you're going to want to survive. But I will talk about AI more further down the line, but I just wanted to give a little tea on that. Now, in these financial hunger games, honey, a lot of people are stressed out to the max about the housing market, right? The housing market in particular has been a little rough, a little ghetto-rochy. And I actually have a brother who is in real estate. He's a mortgage loan officer and a realtor. And it has been difficult a little bit for both the buyer and selling side with the interest rates currently, right? So the current situation of the housing prices is that they have continued to rise, albeit at a slower pace than previous years, because the national median home price is around 375,000. Now, I remember, and me and my brother was talking about this actually. I remember when the housing prices were like for 375,000, you could get like a nice two-story home, at least 4 or 5 bedroom, all this other stuff. Now those homes are going 600, 700,000 where we live, right? That's what those homes are going for now. So in order to qualify, not only you have to make more, right, put down more of a down payment, the interest rates were super high, right? So the impact of this is that higher housing costs have made home ownership less accessible, especially for first-time buyers and low-income families, right? And I was actually having a conversation with my brother about this. I'm like, what are people to do? And you know what he told me? He said that what you should do is just buy the house you can afford at the time, whatever you qualify for, that's what you buy. And then when interest rates come down, you refinance, or you get a better loan, or you make it work that way, but just to get skin in the game, just to get started. Now, the other interesting thing I want to take note of too in this market is that, and this is for my ladies now, okay, ladies, this is for you. Now, what I've noticed with that is that single women, all right, are actually buying homes at twice the rate as single men, right? Single women are buying homes at twice the rate of single men. And I was looking at that, I was like, oh my God, I wonder why that is, right? And there's a lot of factors that could actually go into why that actually is, right? But I think women value security so much, and this is something I'm going to talk about. And I actually do talk about in my course, The Goddess Guide to Money. Women value security so much that we will prioritize that, right? And I know women have a lot of purchasing power and household spending, but I find that it's more so behavioral. A lot of single men like the ability to be free, to be able to move around. They haven't settled down roots. You'll find that a lot of men take that home ownership step when they're preparing themselves for marriage, or envision that happening in their life, versus single women. I think what used to happen, because I remember a girlfriend and I used to talk about this, most women wanted to get a home with a husband, or wanted, to have the security of having a husband and also the income of a husband to supplement and help them get a home, right? And I think especially when it comes to dating, is that when it comes to dating, women are realizing, oh, I can't wait on these men to do some of the things I have to do without. Because I remember specifically, I was talking to a girlfriend. This is way back. This is when I first got my place, and which was, how long have I been able to say? 6 years ago. When I first got my place, and I was telling her, why don't you just get a house? Why don't you just get a house, right? And to each their own, right? Everyone's financial decision is for them. And also, you have to factor in your behaviors, your mindset when it comes to financial decisions. For some people, it makes absolutely better sense just to rent, right? She said she wanted to get a home with a husband, and she was not the only girlfriend to tell me that. So what I realize, or what I'm thinking is happening, right? I don't necessarily have any data to like 100% back this up. But what I'm thinking is happening is that single women are realizing that if they want to own a home, they can't depend, not to depend on men for that, but they don't know when that is necessarily going to be happening in this dating climate. Especially a lot of women are not on dating apps, not prioritizing dating, actually practicing abstinence and celibacy. So I think the thinking now is, let me get something that I can afford, that I can do, and we'll work all that other stuff out if I meet someone, right? Because all else fails, you can always sell it or rent it or do something else, right? So thankfully, I didn't wait on anyone to get my own place. And I got mine pre-pandemic, so things are good. But if you are a woman, or anyone who's watching this show, and that is of something that's interest of you, just get something that you can afford within your price, your range, and refinance and do something later down the line if that is something for you. Also, be open to moving. You know, a lot of people moved from places where, like California, where the housing prices were like insane, and they moved to somewhere that was more affordable, and they were able to save. And you'll be surprised. Like I'm all for moving to somewhere with a lower cost of living, because financial stress and financial strain actually does affect you mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. And I think a lot of people did that during the pandemic, right? A lot of people did that during the pandemic. Now, the financial hunger games, y'all. We covered housing, we covered inflation, we covered wages. You know, yesterday's price is not today's price. Now we're going to cover healthcare costs, right? Healthcare costs. Listen, I can't speak for anywhere else in the world because I'm currently living in America. But is it me, or is it like healthcare costs? There needs to be some kind of regulation around that, right? Thankfully, I'm healthy. Thankfully, I have good insurance. Hashalabo. But I often wonder, right? The other day I went to the dentist, you know, I went to get my checkup. I went to get certain things, and I looked at the price. You know, you have your copay and the things that you pay. I actually looked at the price of what it would have been without the insurance. I'm like, who can afford this, right? If you don't have like a solid job, like a solid, you know, how are people surviving out here? And many people have no health insurance. Now I know there's like healthcare.gov, right, and the healthcare marketplace, but still, it just seems, I don't know, unreasonably astronomical for what healthcare should be. I definitely feel like the healthcare industry is running off with a bag and a bunch of charlatans, but that is for another another episode. But what I wanted to say was healthcare costs are going to continue to rise, which the annual premium for employer-sponsored family healthcare coverage exceeding $22,000. Yo, 22,000. That is for a family, right? The average annual premium and this is employer-sponsored. So your employers are contributing to this. It's 22,000. That's tuition. Healthcare for a family is like the cost of tuition. No wonder people not having kids and families at the rate that we used to, because who can afford this? Who can afford this, right? Listen, and I want you guys to listen to me right now. And if you, especially, are a woman, and you are finding yourself in these financial hunger games and you are struggling, right? Or you feel like you don't have the support that you need, or you just want a roadmap on what you need to get done. Listen, I have a free preview of my course. It is called The Goddess Guide to Money. I go through step by step. It's an introduction course to get you started. There's a free preview of the course so you can try before you even buy, honey, right? At no cost to you. You can find that on my website at ggtm.wewealthwoman.com, or go to wewealthwoman.com/courses, and you will find it there. But you do not want to find yourself, right, in a bind right now, right? So head on over to my website. You can find it there. But it just seems like what is happening is that society is reshaping itself. Society is reorganizing itself. And what it is doing is that the weak, the uninformed, the lazy, it's removing safety nets that people used to have to be able to coast, to be able to get by, to be able to live a relatively comfortable life, right? And what we are finding now with these changes, especially Project 2025, right? Come back tomorrow at this time, I'm going to be discussing Project 2025. It's removing these safety nets. It's removing these levels of support. And this is not only happening in America, this is happening globally. So what are you to do, right? Especially as women, we love security. We love a net, honey. Okay, nobody wants to be out here struggling, scathing by, right? We want to be in our robes. We want to be drinking our drinks, okay? If you're just joining me, today's beverage is Gatorade because your girl's dehydrated. And who wants to do that? You want to be comfortable. You want to be comfortable. You want to be relaxed. So society is reshaping and reorganizing itself to remove these safety nets, which will cause you to need to be more resourceful, to be a woman who enjoys thinking and strategy, to be a woman who is accountable to herself and is building and setting up systems of support, financial support, emotional support, all the support for yourself, right? The laziness of not having to think about things or just hoping is being removed, right? Is being removed. Now, listen, what is also putting its foot on our necks, okay? Student loan debt. Student loan debt, okay? Especially those of us who are professional careers, right? Student loan debt. Now, I used to be like, God damn, I hate this student loan. One day, all my student loans will be paid off, but I feel a little better. I feel a little better because I saw some other people's student loans, and I was just like, whoo, hashalaboya. I was like, whoo, at least my loans aren't that high. Now I know it's bad, but to say that, but I was like, whoo, at least my loans aren't that high, right? So with student loan debt, what we're finding is that the total, especially in the United States, since I don't know what's going on elsewhere, exceeds 1.7 trillion, which the average borrower owing around 37,000. And why is this 37,000 a big deal, right? Why is that number a big deal? $37,000. That is the price of a car. That is the price of a down payment for an average home. That $37,000 is money that can go into a business, into investments. So student loan debt is actually affecting, especially young adults' ability to save, invest, and purchase homes, which are the things I just mentioned. Now, Scott Galloway, and I love Scott Galloway's latest book, The Algebra to Wealth. A lot of the older generation, like the boomers and basically any generation above millennial, which is where I'm at, they benefited from low housing costs. They benefited from low college costs. I think Scott Galloway is saying when he went to school, his tuition was like $5,000 a year for the whole year at UCLA, by the way, right? So I know my generation gets a lot of flack for like not working hard enough or being lazy and whatever that is, and we should be able to have what our parents previously had before or more. But what that generation doesn't really understand is that, first of all, they were benefiting so much from how cheap everything was. They can work their one job, have a wife at home, manage a household, and accomplish those things, right? And also at the same time, they weren't dealing with these levels of inflation and things. So things were more manageable than from a financial standpoint. You can have 2-3 kids and feed all of them. You can go to college for a relatively low price. Your housing costs weren't that expensive. right? So they were able to build wealth more. And then now that generation also is benefiting from, now they're getting their social security. They had pensions, right? All of these things. What do we have as a generation, millennial to Gen Z down, right? We don't have pensions as much anymore. If you need to be able to fund your own retirement, right? Even if, and that's if you even work for a company that offers a 401k match, right? Housing, the average housing cost is $375,000, right? College tuition, $20,000-$30,000, right? Even community school, right? The list goes on. The list goes on. So we're having to do more with less incentive, less resources to do so. Everything costs high. Who can even have a child right now? Sometimes I look at parents, like even people in my age that have kids, I'm like, how are you affording children right now? Now I also believe that I do have like, what's the word? I do have like, I live in an echo chamber of my own reality, meaning that this is normal for me. And I sometimes forget how other people live. So, or what the average finances are, because the other day I was on a live and someone said the average American makes $37,000 a year, and that like blew my mind, right? That blew my head off a little bit. That was like shocking because I'm like, okay, so how are you affording food right now? Like just that. The other stat that blew my mind too was like only 6% of U.S. Black adults make 100,000 or more. That blew my mind as well, right? So it's becoming to levels that we is just beyond what anyone needs to do. So I know I discussed a lot, right? And I want to go into solutions because it's not, I don't want, even though we're in the financial Hunger Games, right? I don't want everyone to freak out. I don't want everyone to be stressed. I don't want everyone to worry about what they're going to do. That's why I'm here. I don't want everyone to worry about how they're going to make a way, right? Or have anxiety. Listen, I don't know about you. Comment in the chat. How are you feeling right now about the economic terrain of where you are, the political terrain of where you are? Do you feel safe? Do you feel safe in your finances? Do you feel safe even in your mental health? Because I was on live the other day on this show that I commentate on called Fly Nubian Money. And recently in the US, former President Trump, had gun violence at his rally and almost got, shot. He got injured, but, he almost got shot. Some people died. So, it's very, there's a lot of emotional, mental, physical, financial unrest, right? And I feel like we're at the crux of this boiling point as a country with everything that's going on. Oh, Rudine says exhausted. Listen, I'm exhausted too. I'm exhausted too. I did say to myself, you know what? I'm going to go and take like a social media break, just disassociate from what is going on because it's just too much. It's just too much, right? I just want to lay around, relax, be in my robe, drink my drinks, and not be that. But instead of feeling all this fear, right? Instead of experiencing all these things, I decided that the best way to conquer fear and anxiety is to have a plan. And as being a part of my audience, as being a part of my community, a plan is always necessary so you can avoid the feeling of uncertainty. All right. Shout out to Blaine. Blaine, I kind of mentioned you earlier in the live. I told them my brother's a realtor, mortgage loan officer. There he is. You can go follow him on his channel. And Blaine, I gave them the advice, told me that people should just buy the houses they can afford and just refinance later. Okay, just get in the game, basically. Just buy the type of house that you can afford right now and figure it out as you go. Let me know if that advice still holds, Blaine. Let me know. So we are going to go into solutions, because enough of this doom and gloom, enough of this financial Hunger Games. What should you do? What should you be focusing on, right? The first thing you want to focus on is create an emergency fund, right? Now, ideally, you want at least 3 to 6 months, right? And this is going to hedge against any unexpected major expense or setback or layoff. Remember when we was in the pandemic, a lot of people were out of work for 5-6 months, right? And we were getting those stimmy checks. We were getting unemployment. A lot of us were getting a lot of different things, but ideally you want an emergency fund to hedge against that. And also for your own, mental and emotional security, because when you do experience some financial setbacks, right, you're not going to lose your mind. You're not going to freak out, because at least you have 3 to 6 months to get it together, right? You can always find another job. You can always figure it out, right? You're not in a state of distress, right? The next thing I want you guys to do to survive the financial Hunger Games is to build community, right? To build community. What does that necessarily mean, right? What does that necessarily mean? To build community means to really surround yourself, of course, with your friends and family that support you, but also your network, right? Also your network. For example, the other day I was like, you know what? I need a reliable mechanic that can work on my car, because I know the dealership was doing was robbing me, and I wanted someone I can trust, someone to tell me the truth about things with the car, whatever the price is, a reasonable price. And I reached out to my community and people who support me, and I was referred to by someone who was also good friends with them. So there was a level of trust there, and we were able to do business with each other, right? So your community is going to help, give you advice, and have people that do different things in different professions to keep you abreast of things that are going on in the world. And it can also put you on game and put you in the resources so you can win. For example, my brother, okay, Blaine, right? He said, yep, all in the payment. So basically, because the housing crisis was going on, and I always try to get expert advice, especially in their area, because a lot of people think that the house prices are going down. And, if I thought that or had that mindset, I wouldn't own what I own now today. Actually, I wouldn't own now what I own today if it wasn't for my brother, actually. But yes, just buy what you can afford now. Even if it's not glamorous or great or special, at least it will be yours. So build community, get to know your neighbors, right? I was in Jamaica the other day, and the thing I liked, and I kind of forgot just living here, was how reliant people are on their neighbors, and they say hi, and it's more communal living over there because they need each other to survive, right? That and also for your mental health, for your mental health, which is important, right? Now, what you also need to do to survive these financial Hunger Games is to make more money. Okay, is to make more money. how are you going to do that? Right? How are you going to make more money? Now, there's plenty of ways to skin a cat, right? There's plenty of ways to go about doing things and to get more money. And I discussed this in my latest course, The God's Guide to Money, which a free preview is available to you guys. But basically what happens is that you need to decide a path and to be committed to that path and to see it through. So for example, is your path going to be trying to level up in your current field or career and getting a position within your current company that pays more? Do you have to leave your current company and go somewhere else to get paid more? Do you need to learn a new skill or enhance a skill to get paid more, right? Is it starting a side business that will bring in more money? Is it increasing? Are you in sales? Is it just increasing your sales so you can get more commission, right? What are you going to do to bridge your economic gap? Because you can only save so much, right? And with savings, the max you can save is based on your income, right? But you can always make more. You can always make more, right? And even nowadays, making more doesn't even have to be as hard as it used to be, especially with AI and those tools. You can create a business, create a product, create a service, and market it to people who need it. And your earning potential is to the sky, right? To the sky. And I'm actually coming out soon with a course called the AI Business Launch. And you can sign up for the wait list for that course. But basically, it's probably like the lazy guide to business, like how to leverage AI tools to develop your business concept, to market it, to develop your product or service, and the tools that are available in the AI space to help you do that, right? And a lot of these tools did not exist like a year or two ago. So we're really in a technological age where anything is possible with AI. Now, what I want to talk to about AI, and leave a comment in the chat if you are interested in AI, and if you are interested from the tech standpoint or if you're interested from the business standpoint. But what's interesting about that is that it's really only two ways you can go. And it's either you're going to be a business owner that uses AI to bring you more business or sales, or from that standpoint, or you are the tech person that is developing, maintaining the AI, right? But there's money to be made either way. And I really think that instead of being afraid of AI, we can definitely learn to use it to our advantage, right? I know a lot of us know ChatGPT, a lot of us know Bard, a lot of us know Gemini, but there are different technologies available that will help us scale a business. And I think from a business standpoint, that is where you need to be, because with what I've been learning about AI and what these companies are going to be implementing sooner rather than later, is most companies are always trying to do more with less. And wherever you work, unless you're on the tech side of things, your position may not be available. Like, I forgot which state it is, but they have a fully automated McDonald's now, right? Self-checkout is going to be real self-checkout really soon at grocery stores. A lot of businesses are trying to figure out how to completely do away with a workforce as possible. There are going to be a lot of more social solo entrepreneur businesses where it's like a one-man show and all this tech behind them pushing. So people are going to have issues finding work, especially if their work is not highly skilled or adapted to that industry. So I say we need to get ahead of it. I say we need to embrace AI. I say we need to build businesses that are fueled and leveraged by AI to monetize our genius, to monetize our magic, to monetize what we're trying to do with the assistance of AI to generate our own financial economy and to survive the financial Hunger Games that are occurring now and in the future. If you're interested in the future musings of that course, you can always go to waitlist.wewealthwoman for that as well. Right? So, financial Hunger Games, right? We went through it today. I taught you guys how to survive inflation, right? Hopefully policymakers will focus on stabilizing prices, encourage supply chain improvements. But I also feel like a lot of these companies are just like, a lot of these companies are just taking advantage of the fact that they can just charge a higher price and are blaming it on inflation. I'm seriously thinking that because Target, McDonald's, a lot of these companies have reduced their price because they're realizing people are not playing around with these prices anymore, right? With wage stagnation, so a lot of, with inflation and the prices of goods and services going up, the prices of these jobs and our salaries have not gone up. So, and that's a double-edged sword because a lot of companies' response to the rising of minimum wage is to really invest in tech to have less people. So, that is also an issue. Housing affordability, like I said, Blaine, thank you for being in the chat. He said just buy what you can afford. Just get the payment that you can afford and refinance later, if that be, right? And, make sure that you have your emergency fund, you reduce your high interest rate debt as much as possible, plan for healthcare costs, and also to have a financial plan for yourself. If you're interested in getting consulting from me, you can always, schedule a consultation with me at calendly.com/wewealthwoman, and you'll find my schedule and my time of availability there. Right? But before I go, right, from our Financial Hunger Games show, leave a comment if you have any questions. I'll answer any questions that you have at this current time. But I have to put my disclaimer up, okay, because this is not a consultation. But if you have any questions that you feel would be good for me to answer, you can feel free to leave them down. Okay? While I luxuriate in my robe, listen, robe life is amazing. This is my Fino Well robe. I love her so much. Robe of the day. But all right, loves, be sure to like and subscribe to this video. If you're watching the replay, I truly appreciate you. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. I will be live having this show during the weekdays, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Feel free to email me at info.wewealthwoman.com. If you have any requests or questions, or you can leave them in the comment sections as well. Be sure to preview the Goddess Guide to Money course that is available on my website at ggtm.wewealthwomen.com. It's lovely. It gives you an action guide to go through everything that we discussed today and to get your financial life together. I love you, and I will see you in the